It's Sunday, it's day 7, and we have come to the beautiful city of Tallinn in Estonia. And it is a beautiful city. I've been here before, Lee's never been here before. When I came here a few years ago, I stayed in that hotel there, and it's very, very, very compact. We actually took a shuttle bus that Celebrity didn't put on. We had to pay €10 for it, but it wasn't really worth it because it didn't take you very far in. You can probably walk it in about half an hour, or it's worth getting a taxi because that would be a bit cheaper. But anyway, €10 for a round trip. And it brings you right into the medieval Old Town, which is very pedestrianised and cobbles. So if you've got mobility issues, my mum and dad are taking much slower because my mum has a stick. But they're just going to come and see the edge of the square. But let's go and explore. So here we are in the main square, the old square, also known as the Town Hall Square, I think. And it's the thriving hotbed hub of the city. Last time I came, they didn't have these, maybe it's a summer thing, they have these bunk sort of benches up, which is nice. And essentially off all the streets of the square are lots of different side streets, medieval side streets, with lots of shops and restaurants and cafes. It's just really gorgeous. Temperature is about 17-18 degrees. So it's really pleasant, and there's lots of people, all different ages, sitting outside. It looks like the lady who sang at my conference. Lots of different ages having an ice cream. So we'll carry on walking, shall we? So, if you go to the top of the Town Hall Square and follow it off almost against your instinct, to go up a very steep side cobbledy street, you find even more of the old town. You've got the park over there, and here is the St. Alexander Nevsky Cathedral, which is very grand in the Russian Orthodox style. Over there is the big bell tower, I think, and there's lots of the government and civic buildings. I think I came for a meeting up here as part of my conference. I did. It's all coming back to me now, Celine, but it's gorgeous, and actually it's a little bit less touristy. It's still beautiful. So let's go this way. So just around the corner or up the road from the cathedral, if you want a really good view across the sort of the edge of the city, there's this beautiful garden called the Episcopiade, or the Bishop's Garden, said the actress to the bishop, and it's got a great view which we'll show you when we go in there. I'm going in there now. Still going. So the thing about this garden, it's less about the garden and more about the view. We walked back down towards the old city walls and spotted some local dancers in traditional dress entertaining the tourists. Hi. So this building behind me apparently was an old church built in the 13th century, dedicated to St. Nicholas, who was the patron saint of fishermen. And during the Soviet bombing of Tallinn in 1940, I think, or during World War II, it was destroyed partially. And since it's been restored, it's been turned into an art gallery and concert hall. So we've just come into a beautiful English bookshop in Tallinn. And it's gorgeous. It's got lovely English old books, new and second hand. But they're also playing the Visitors album by ABBA on slightly too fast a frequency, but I knew it as soon as I walked in. How exciting. While Lee was engrossed in the history section, I was determined to track down the source of the Visitors. Well, if this isn't an auspicious sign at the end of our big day trip to Stockholm tomorrow to Abba Museum, it's my favourite ABBA album in a beautiful English bookshop in Estonia on vinyl.
At least it's where the house is. It's easily seen.
We've come for some hot chocolates. I've ordered the house special and it's huge. I'm sure it's going to taste very special as well. It's a lovely place called Le Grand Cuvee de la Ville, Pierre Chocolaterie. Apparently it's been here since 1937. So Paul has led me to the KGB prison cell museum.
that we might go and have a little look inside.
Yeah, it's somewhere I didn't go last time, and it's very easy to find. It's just off the main sort of centre on a very pretty street, actually. They're all pretty streets here. Open till 6 p.m. Well, that was well worth doing. It was not very expensive at all, and it's quite sobering. And wow, it really reminds you beneath these beautiful streets which combine medieval history and modernity. And so beautiful and clean, and lovely cafes and restaurants. What went on here? All that totalitarian repression, particularly in the 40s and 50s, from 1940 through to the Stalin era. Yeah, well worth doing this. KGB prison cells. Come and do it. You can really get the feel for Tallinn in a few hours. We went back to the ship for an early dinner, had a few drinks, and of course we found ourselves a little bit peckish once again. Which have you just had? Might have had a second dinner. I might have had some more.
It's called supper, isn't it?
Supper. It is supper, but also I had no breakfast. So I've only had brunch, tea, and this is my supper. And I'm going to go back and get something else because there's some more stuff over there and it's lovely. It's even just gone dark. Literally, the sun's just set, so it's only like tea time now, innit? We've got a busy day of ABBA-ness tomorrow. We're even Stockholm at 11 a.m. Before we went to bed, the captain told us to set an alarm for the sail into Stockholm as one of the most beautiful in the world, and he wasn't wrong. The ship sails through the famous archipelago and docks right in the centre of the historic city of Stockholm. Only a minute from the cruise terminal was the dock for the hop-on hop-off red sightseeing boat, which took us straight into town. We bought a 24-hour ticket and actually used it on both days. So we are on what seems to most people just an ordinary shopping street in beautiful Old Town of Sweden. It's all the designer shops. Stockholm. I'm so excited. It's this the very staircase where Frida Lindstad ran up and down in the Head Over Heels video, which is one of my favourite videos.
Who is Frida?
Frida is one of the singers in ABBA, sorry. Head Over Heels. And so we're going to recreate that moment in the video, and soon over the other side of the road is the door that she comes out at the beginning of the video. I'm good.
She's a leading lady, and with no trace of hesitation, she keeps going head over heels, breaking away, pushing through unknown jungle.
Beautiful Stockholm. Beautiful. I think it's probably the most beautiful city I've ever been to. Up there with Paris. So we left our ship and got the hop-on hop-off boat, which goes in a clockwise version around the islands. It turns out that ABBA Museum is the penultimate stop before our boat, which meant that we would have stayed on for 8 stops. However, in the end, we stopped over there at the Old Town, we got off, and we walked, as you might see from a separate video, we walked into town to recreate one of ABBA's 1982 pop videos. More about that later. And then we've walked from there all along the harbour here, and we're now entering the island on which all the museums, the Nordic Museum, the Vasa Museum, and most importantly, the ABBA Museum. I can't quite remember the name of the island, we'll put it down there in the video. And it is a gorgeous day, and I think it's the most beautiful city that I have genuinely ever seen.
Where are we?
We're at the ABBA Museum. I can't believe it. You might have spotted that I'm quite a fan of ABBA, and in particular Her Royal Highness Dame Queen Duchess Frida Lindstad. The museum itself, as you can see, is quite fun, and it has quite a few interactive sections as well as fabulous waxworks of the band themselves.
So how did you enjoy the ABBA Museum?
Great. Just doing my backing vocals. you can go to my YouTube channel and watch my other videos that we've made so far. How did I enjoy the ABBA Museum? It was fabulous. It was really beautifully made. Lots of memorabilia, lots of costumes, posters, some information that I didn't know about. It was very busy. Obviously, there's a cruise ship arrived in town. We're on it. I thought that we would have maybe timed it a bit later and this missed out. So, top tip number, whatever it is, try and find out like the quieter time. And if you're on a cruise ship, maybe go on the second day if you can. But notwithstanding that, we got to do most of the things. Got some great photos, and we're just now having a drink in the visitors bar named after the best album. We then took the boat back to the ship for dinner.
So, where are we?
We're in the Grand Cuvee
Cafe.
Strong restaurant. Canteen.
Canteen. It's a bit canteen-like, isn't it?
Very noisy, very hectic. Lots going on, lots of people rushing past all the time, clattering. The service is
Very
quite
busy.
The service is very friendly, it's very rushed.
Friendly, they're very friendly. There's my dad in the back corner there behind you. And
Very manic. But I've got
bit manic, and also because we are sat next to the area where they clear up, it's quite manic. Thank you.
But what I'm eating tonight is a crispy chicken roulade.
That looks nice. What do you have for starter?
I had a ham and pea soup.
Ham and pea soup. And I've got the beef bourguignon with a dollop of mashed potato. And we just asked the sommelier for some wine. It's again a little bit of a faff, isn't it?
Well, there's about 4 different waiters, and one's a wine, and one's a sub-waiter, one's an assistant waiter, one's bring you a drink. I don't know. It's very complicated.
It says it actually on that thing that there's 3 different waiters. But then if you go off piece and you ask for alcohol that's not wine, then you have to have the bar waiter. It's very confusing.
Well, you asked for salt, and you think the salt from the one waiter, didn't you? So
Yes, because the salt had expired, but they had to get the our waiter, not someone else's waiter, didn't they?
it's all very complicated.
All very, very manic. I think you're getting a sense of the manicness from the number of people coming out over your shoulder. Not the most relaxing environment compared to the Beyond.
Food is, you can't fault the food. The food's very nice.
That's right, and they're friendly. It's just what happens when you're on a very busy cruise ship.
It's a very big restaurant.
Soon after, it was time for the cruise ship's sing-along to ABBA. Spot the theme?
Everybody sing it!
When I called you last night from Glasgow, all I do is sing and sing and sing. We sure was You find us this morning on day 9, on our day 2 in Stockholm, and we have come to Gamla Stan, which is the old town, beautiful medieval town. We've only just got off the little hop-on, hop-off bus. Boat bus outside the Royal Palace. The Royal Palace that you can see is undergoing some renovation, but they've got this lovely outdoor photographic exhibition because 2023 is the 50th Jubilee year of the King of Sweden, Gustav. And he acceded to the throne on the 15th of September 1973. So not only is it this year is the Jubilee year, but next year is the 50th anniversary of ABBA winning in Waterloo in Brighton in 1974, and Loreen won it for Sweden, and it'll be back here, Eurovision, next May. So that's very exciting, incidental. But it is gorgeous. We're going to take a tour around the medieval old streets that surround the Royal Palace, which is on its own little island. So we'll see you in a moment. As you might have seen in our first video, in Oslo we could get really close up to the Royal Palace, and the same again in Stockholm. You can really see the buildings and indeed the soldiers up close and personal. And then we carried on in search of brunch.
So where have we come?
We're in Stortorget, which is behind the cathedral and on the square that shares lots of cafes with the Nobel Prize Museum, which is over your shoulder. And we found this nice cafe. We found one of the oldest and the first LGBT cafe in Sweden. It was just there to my left. which you can pant in a sec. But it was busy, and the only place to sit in the sun, it's 27 degrees today. So instead we've come next door to this lovely place with a lovely waitress, and we've managed to squeeze in with 5 minutes to go the breakfast special, which is avocado and egg, beautifully presented in a seeded bun. So this square where we've happened to find ourselves for lunch is recommended to all the tourist guides as the place to begin your experience of Gamla Stan, because off this square leads to all the medieval cobbled streets. Interestingly, this square has been the beating heart of Gamla Stan, or the Old Town, since the medieval period, and in 1520 there was the Stockholm bloodbath. Look it up. If you know more about it, put it in the comments, because I don't know anything about this. But I know from this that it says it was the mass execution of Swedish nobles by the Danish king Christian II, whereas now it's a beautiful cobbled square. And you'll see when we do a pan around, the colours are beautiful. I've got a nice photo of the yellow walls, which seem to reflect the blue sky, and it looks like the Swedish flag.
The Old Town, known as Gamla Stan, is both a small island itself and the historic centre of Stockholm, where the first city took root back in the 13th century. It's such a nice place to just wander. There's loads of touristy shops, cafes, and beautiful cobbled streets and alleys. Every corner that you turn is a feast for the eyes.
Not sure if anywhere in this street there might be the opportunity to buy a waffle. So as we're walking towards the cruise ship, we're still in Gamla Stan, which is the Old Town. We've just come across this little corner of Britain, hopefully not the bit. It's called Little Britain, and it seems to sell, from what I can tell, a lot of mugs. Look. Mugs. I mean, I've never heard of that brand, but there we go. That's what Swedes think of as being Britain. Little Britain to me is basically bitty and yogurt new, but you're in vomiting ladies. So, same thing. So yesterday we got the hop on, hop off boat. You can get a boat and bus combined, but we just got the boat. It's fairly infrequent, and it only stops running at about 4 o'clock. So it meant that basically we curtailed by sort of 4 p.m. from the ABBA Museum. However, if you follow this green line, which is the path from as you exit from the cruise ship, it takes you to the main road where you'll get a bus. The bus number 53 will take you into town for fairly cheap, and we've just got that back from town, from the Old Town. So top tip, get the local bus and follow the green line.
And you just need to tap on, don't
Yes,
you?
there's no I asked the lady on the bus if I needed to tell her the destination. She looked at me like I was daft, so I just tapped on. So we may have paid for the full fare, but I think it's a flat fare, a bit like a London bus.
It's about £3 or something. It's less than that.
Yeah, well, less than we paid on the hop on, hop off boat. But yeah, flat fare, and yeah, follow the green road. Follow the green road.
I do apologise for my charity shop zoo impressions and silly references to camp history. Anyway, back on the ship, Lee decided to immerse himself, quite literally, in the hot tub.
Right here, what are you doing? I'm in the hot tub. Oh yeah? For the first time. It's the first time I've ever done. It's absolutely lovely. Sailing out of Stockholm.
Look, you're in a hot tub there, and there's a city going right past us there. So we are on our way out from Stockholm back out to sea. We're passing back through the gorgeous archipelago, or however you pronounce it. We won't say pronounce it. Is that right? Yeah, you think? Oh, good. Message us in the comments below if not. Yes. But it's absolutely gorgeous. The sun's shining. The landscape is astoundingly gorgeous.
There's a pine forest behind us. Just raise the camera slightly. Forest. Just look out, you know, just random sorts of what look like palaces or log cabins on the edge of the Baltic Sea. And there's these little ones here that you're just riding past, little tiny.
All summer houses and things like that.
Look at these beautiful, beautiful archipelagian islands. Is that a word? I've just made it a word. These islands of the archipelago outside the Stockholm Bay. That's what it's called. It's gorgeous. There is just a perfect sunset. Great sky and light, sailor's delight or shepherd's delight, my delight. It's a little bit lowy on the top deck now, but gorgeous. And we just had our sunset bar drinks that you saw earlier. Then we went down to the martini bar. Top tip number 474 is that when everyone else is in the show in the theatre, either at 7 or at 9, it's very quiet in the bars, and especially quiet in the coffee shop, the coffee bar. Perfect time to go down and have a coffee or a coffee cocktail as we had, and a cake. Look at that sunset. Once the sun had set, it was time to headline the band again.